Hello, I'm Daniel, founder of Later CPA and Associates, and welcome back to our Instagram Live series where we are building a successful private practice from beginning to infinity. And welcome back, everyone. Now, how do you get an elephant to balance its budget? Send it to therapy so it stops working for peanuts. I hope that joke was a little bit random because I'm feeling a little bit random today. All right, so to jump into our topic. This week we're talking about deducting advertising and marketing expenses for your private practice. Now, when you started your practice, you, I hope, knew that business wouldn't simply just walk in the door. New clients wouldn't just simply knock and show up and want to work with you. That doesn't happen. We need to advertise our businesses to attract people and clients to us. We need to put ourselves out into the marketplace. So we're going to be talking about how those expenses can be deducted for your tax return. Now, unless you have mastered that magical form of advertising, word of mouth, then this is for you, because not everyone has mastered that yet. So let's talk about some of the types of advertising and marketing expenses and how they're deductible. Now, a lot of these things you might already be doing or be aware of. This is your website, the costs to run your website. Maybe you're running social media ads on Facebook or Google or somewhere else. Maybe you have a print ad in a magazine like Psychology Today. You're listed there in a newspaper, somewhere like that. You might also be having business cards printed, flyers printed for you that you can distribute. Maybe you're paying for SEO services to show up on Google searches. All of those expenses are deductible expenses for your tax return. Make sure they're tracked and that they're distinguished so you know that they are advertising expenses, and then they're deductible. Now, I also want to briefly talk about sponsorships. Sponsorship expenses are different than advertising. When your business grows, you might be interested in doing sponsorships at some point. So it's important to know the difference. Now, a sponsorship is a payment to a non-profit to benefit, basically to benefit them. When you're a nonprofit, maybe you have a nonprofit now, or you're thinking about setting up a nonprofit in the future, these sponsorship rules are important to know and distinguish between advertising or anything else. Talk with your tax professional to get more details. If you're the business making a payment to a nonprofit or something else as a sponsorship, the rules are very, very similar to the advertising expenses. You'll still want to distinguish them, but they are similar to advertising anyway, so not too much difference, but the nonprofit is where it is different. First off, when someone makes a sponsorship contribution or payment to a nonprofit, there must be no expectation of a return benefit. This is not them buying a gigantic poster. This is not them paying for jerseys or any other type of thing that could be included there. That's not that. That's advertising. A sponsorship is a payment with no expectation of a return benefit. Now, I'm sure you've been to functions where the nonprofit or organization has put up a list of the people who've contributed and made payments or made sponsorship or charitable contributions to the organization. That's different. That relatively minor thing is not a return benefit. That's not advertising. Now, as I said before, the difference between a sponsorship and a advertising expense really is a bigger issue for a nonprofit. For a regular business, not so much. Still important to have them separated and distinguished though. So again, if you are in that situation where you're either receiving sponsorships for your nonprofit or paying sponsorships, talk with your tax professional, get their advice. Now, there's a few types of things that we might think are advertising or marketing expenses that are not deductible for the business. Let's talk about some of these. First, are you doing any kind of personal promotion? That's one thing to think about. There's a distinction between your business and yourself. If you are paying something, maybe you have a maybe you have a social media professional helping you with your personal social media sites. That's not the same thing as a professional helping the business with their social media sites. So that's one thing to be aware of. There is a difference between business and personal. Also, gifts to clients. This might seem like advertising. It is not. There's when you have gifts made to clients, there's actually a dollar limit of $25 per client per year. Talk with your tax advisor. It gets a little stickier than that, but that's basically it. If you're making a gift, it's a gift, not advertising. Limited to you can contribute more or you can give more than $25, but the amount you can deduct is limited to $25 per client or per person per year. And lastly, what we're considering not deductible, and this one is a little bit of a thinker, your charitable contributions or charitable donations you do through the business. They're not technically business deductions the same way in advertising expenses. You'll still get a benefit. I still recommend you make charitable contributions personally or through your business, but it's treated differently. Make sure your tax advisor is aware of that because it does show up differently. There are different tax implications when it goes down to the owner's level, the personal level. But the business still records those and can see a tax benefit from them. So let's talk about how to maximize and get the most benefit from your expenses for advertising. First, keep records. If you don't keep a record and something disappears into the past memory, you can't benefit from it. This goes back to what we talked about weeks ago, having good bookkeeping or record-keeping software to track these kinds of expenses. Also, with advertising, it's important to know if it's working or not. So you can track your marketing statistics. If you're doing it online through one of the social medias, they provide a lot of tools to see how wide it's spread out and who it's reaching. If you're doing it through print, they might also have some information about that. Basically, figure out how well your expenses are returning interest in your company. And lastly, of course, always work with a tax professional or a CPA to help you understand how to classify those expenses best so that you can get the most benefit from them as deductions on your tax return. Now, if you have any questions about this topic, feel free to comment on the video below or DM me directly and I'll answer those as I'm able to. If you would like to schedule a free 30-minute call with my firm to a free 30-minute discovery call, go ahead and DM me. We'll send you a link for our discovery call where we will talk about our initial service, our Financial 360, what that is and how it can benefit your company. Follow and subscribe for notifications on future events and tax tips that we put up regularly. And visit our website, latercpa.com. I will see you all on the next video. Have a great weekend and remember to keep helping others to help themselves. Thank you.